everything home. It is, what is it? It is Friday, March 21st, and we are here with Andy Mason with Level Creek. How are you, Andy?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always like to start off, and no, I didn't give him a heads up on anything, and that's on purpose. Who is Andy?
Andy is a Georgia native.
Okay.
Yep, born and raised here, Piedmont Hospital, and I've lived in Gwinnett County since the 80s.
Nice.
So I moved out here, and so I've been a lifelong resident of Georgia and a Gwinnett County boy for a very long time. Owned business out here, raised my children in Gwinnett, and it's a fantastic place. We were talking a little bit earlier. Most of my family still lives over in Marietta.
Yeah.
And I can be in Greenville, South Carolina before I can be in Marietta to see them with traffic. So
Yep.
we see each other when we can. But this whole area is great. It's been a great place to raise a family, have a business.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic community. So Andy Mason is just somebody that loves Gwinnett, loves North Atlanta, and don't ever see myself leaving Georgia.
Love it. So you mentioned business.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and talk about that. So
Okay.
Level Creek, and I don't think I know if I do. I didn't remember. My apologies.
Mm-hmm.
So Level Creek.
Mm-hmm.
First, out of my own curiosity, are you the owner of Level Creek?
I am. I'm the owner
Okay.
of Level Creek. 15 years, I believe, Level Creek has been in business. So it's Level Creek Property
Restoration.
Right.
Absolutely.
So we are a restoration company. We pretty much deal exclusively with insurance and insurance claims or mitigation. So we do emergency water removal, mold remediation, fire, smoke, and then we take it to the next step and then actually build it back to where it needs to be, pre-loss condition, or most of the time better than what we had when we got it. And that's what we do. So, typically if somebody has a house and they're like, "Hey, I want you to, I want to do my basement, or I want to do my screen porch or something like that." Usually tell them, well, unless your basement's full of water, unless there's a tree or a Buick in your living room, it's not what we do. Our niche is working with the carriers and with the insured to get their house put back after there's an unfortunate accident.
So if I ask you to finish my basement and your answer is, well, we don't do that. It's really if it just fills with water. If I then call you next week and say, hey, my basement filled with water, that might set off a few alarms.
I would be there, yeah.
But you would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice.
And we're 24/7.
Speaking of, that's happened to me. Well, okay.
It's happened to me too. It's happened to me multiple times. And
that's the thing, right? And it just popped into my head, so I'm going to mention it. Andy doesn't pay everything home to do this. We've worked, me personally, my wife and I have worked with Level Creek on things that happened at our house. So this is because we know you all, and Travis, who is fantastic. And so, yeah, to that point, I think we've had you all out 3 different times for water damage, 2 of which were very, very bad.
mm-hmm.
With that being said, as a homeowner, and actually my parents' roof leaked a few weeks back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they handled it differently than we did. Our first step was a phone call.
Right.
Right. Like everything's happening right now. And my parents, on the other hand, I don't know if there's a right or wrong. They just called a guy to come fix a roof, and the damage still isn't fixed. So when something like that happens, what is step 1?
Well, the step 1, yeah, I mean, it depends on the severity of what's going on.
Okay.
I mean, if you go stepping down into your basement and all of a sudden, there's furniture floating by, yeah, you've got a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes maybe like your parents, they noticed a brown spot on the ceiling. What do we do? Oh, we got a leaky pipe boot or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a significant water issue is emergent, right? You need to call somebody right away.
Yeah.
And your insurance company wants you to mitigate that damage as quickly as possible. You can't let it, well, I didn't know what to do, so I let it sit here for a couple of days.
Exactly.
You need to get in there and get it done.
Okay.
And that's one of the things too about what I do a lot, because I work with a lot of insurance agents around the area as well, because there are times where it might not necessarily be a covered claim, right? Somebody has a leaking spot on their ceiling or something like that, and they say, oh, well, I got to file a roof claim. Well, you get up there and you look, and it's like, well, there's no damage to the roof. You got a pipe boot that's been up there for, 10, 15 years. It's, cracked, or, you got some water coming in. Might not be a covered loss. So don't necessarily file a claim,
Okay.
because a lot of times and especially now, deductibles are getting higher and higher and
Yes.
higher. So there's people that, hey, I got a $2,500 deductible. Well, if you have $2,800 worth of damage, your insurance company's going to send you a check for $300, because you're going to take out
Yeah.
your deductible, and now you have a claim against you, and you still have to fix your roof. So you should have just,
Mhm.
just so you need to know. But there are times where it is an emergency, like what happened with you. You needed something. You
We
needed a
did.
professional come in quickly and say,
Yeah.
"We got to get this water out here. We got to get it stabilized. We want to make sure there's no mold or anything like that." So you really have to scale it to what the size of the emergency is. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. And what it makes me wonder, and maybe it's not a clear line, right? Of what is that line of, I'm not calling insurance first, and all I'm doing is getting somebody out here and getting them out here now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a clear, I guess we're specifically talking of water. I don't know what else.
Well, there's smoke, odor. I mean, a fire, clearly, if it's a fire, it's a fire,
Yeah.
if there's mold. But yeah, water, for an insurance claim, it's got to be, there is kind of a fine line. It's got to be sudden and accidental, right? Hey, my the
Okay.
pipe burst, it froze, the pipe burst. Or it's got to be hidden damage, right? It was a water valve behind my shower. Well, you can't see your water valve, but it's faulty and had been leaking for some time, and then it had caused this damage. So
I see.
hidden damage. You weren't there. But now if somebody has, they're just blatantly, oh yeah, I've noticed that my tub drain has been, leaking for some time, but it was just a small drip into the basement. So,
Didn't do anything.
well,
for a
the
while.
insurance company's
Okay.
going to look at that and saying, well, you didn't take care of your stuff.
Mhm.
So you've got to be able to say, sudden accidental or hidden damage, or was this an ongoing maintenance issue that as a homeowner or an insurance policyholder, you weren't taking care of? Because it's just like you go and you get a new car and you drive it for 50,000 miles. You never change the oil on it and the engine blows up. And
Yeah.
you take it and say, hey, well, my engine blew up. But they're like, well, you never changed the oil. You
Absolutely.
got to take care of your stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, the sudden, accidental, and hidden. That
Mhm.
that makes perfect sense. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if thankfully is the word. That was the case with all of ours. Out of curiosity, with you all doing this every single day, be it water, fire, sewage, which happened in our house.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most common that you see?
Water damage wise, you're going to find typically, you have your PRV valve in your house. That's what regulates the pressure of the water that's coming.
Okay, the pressure.
coming
Okay,
in from the
got it.
street.
Yep.
So those go bad. They go bad just like a water heater does or anything else. You have a PRV and all of a sudden it's the pressure in the house is too much. So it can
Mhm.
easily lead to a pipe coming undone. What we run the gamut. We find everything from a dishwasher leak, ice maker
Our dishwasher.
lines. An ice maker line's behind the refrigerator. An ice maker line goes bad, and all of a sudden it drips for 3 weeks, and you don't know it until all of a sudden your hardwood floors are buckling.
Yeah.
Water heaters, they have a useful life. A water heater goes bad, it's going to go out, it's going to flood your house. These are things that you need to know and look at and find out, hey, how old is my water heater? Do I need to change out the ice maker line? Because those are things that you need to be aware of.
Okay, now there's something I want to do. I want to make a list for everybody of things. So with that being said, like as a homeowner, now full disclosure, the ones that happened to us, were ridiculous and not something I think we could have avoided ahead of time. Are there things with water heaters, with the pressure valve you mentioned? Are there things we as homeowners can do monthly, every 6 months, once a year, like check for?
Yeah, I would, just like, you see like with the fire department, you see, public service announcements. It's, hey, time is changing. It's time to change the batteries in your
Yes,
smoke detector.
yeah.
I think, yeah, you should. There are things that you should certainly do on an annual or semi-annual basis, just to check, your home, right? How old is your water heater? Is it, looking good? You should drain your water heater once a year. There's a spigot on it, you run a hose, you drain it. If you notice rust or anything in it, it might be time for a new water
I'm
heater.
going to make a note to do that.
Well, yeah, I had one just the other day. I went down and I was changing the filters in my HVAC unit, and I looked up. It's a gas furnace.
Mhm.
Well, where the furnace pipe, which was a galvanized pipe, it had completely rusted and had detached. Well, that was filling that area, possibly with carbon monoxide
Yeah,
gases and everything like that. I'm like, oh my God, that
absolutely.
could have killed
That's
us.
bad.
Yeah, if that would have come completely detached, it would have just blowing that exhaust right. And and my master bedroom was right above that room. So you have
Oh,
to. So you do need to. We have these things in our house that makes our lives easier: air conditioning, water
hmm,
heaters. But we have to make sure that they're running correctly. So just like your smoke detectors, take a check at everything else lately. Every now and then.
absolutely. Okay, yeah, I want a list now. And what's interesting, even the water valve, the pressure relief valve in our hot water heater,
Hmm.
right? I guess it went bad. I don't know. Now it didn't flood the house or anything. It just leaked all of that hot water out
Hmm.
the side of the house over time.
Hmm.
Could have been doing that for 8 months. I don't know.
Hmm.
All I know was our whole side yard was soggy. All the
Right.
grass was dead, making this wedge where it was draining down. I mean, yeah, there are certainly things to watch for. So I'm curious if you've heard of this thing in the article we wrote for this issue. I talk about water damage specifically. I did some research, like how can we avoid things like this? And
Mhm.
something I found, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Um, Evidently, there is an automatic shutoff for your main water line. And you
Mhm.
can have sensors like under your water heater,
Mhm.
in the laundry room,
Yep.
under the dishwasher, and it's connected wirelessly. And if it senses water above a certain level, it completely shuts off water. So I didn't know if that's something you had seen or
Uh, Water Cop is a brand.
okay.
I have it on my house. I have it on my pipes. So yeah, I mean, there's so much technology out there
There
now to,
is.
to help us. Just like I said, we have all this technology to help us make our lives easier.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that can kind of babysit that for us. And I have a Water Cop. It's called that brand is called Water Cop on my house. It has sensors that are wirelessly connected. So in my kitchen where my refrigerator is, my dishwasher, in my
Okay.
bathroom, my water heater. And in fact, just 2 weeks ago, I got it, and everything's got an app, right?
It does.
I'm heading home from work. I get a thing that says, "Boom, potential leak in your water heater room," and so that water cop will automatically turn off the water to the house. And I got home, and sure enough, I have a humidifier hooked up to my
Yeah.
my furnace, and the filter had gotten clogged or something, and it had been dripping
Dripping
water
water.
down. That sensor picked it up, notified me, and shut it down. So think about it, but if you're on vacation, what if you're in
Yes.
Europe? What if you're at the beach? What if you're at soccer practice and you can't get home? And then all of a sudden, you didn't know,
Exactly.
you just got home and started cooking dinner. You didn't go into your basement every day. You don't go,
Hmm.
certainly don't go to where your water heater is. And all of a sudden the whole thing is either full of mold or water or both.
Yep.
So there is plenty of technology out there now that can, and it doesn't even have to be as complex as a water cop that shuts off the water,
Hmm.
but it can be a water sensor that is making a loud siren beep when if it happens, just so hey,
Like
if
a
you hear
carbon
something, hey,
monoxide
what
sensor. Yeah.
exactly, hey, what is
Yeah.
that? Oh gosh, that's in my basement, I might need to go down there.
Yep.
So I mean, you can buy them on Amazon. You can get them anywhere. But yes, the best one, and typically too, you can check with your insurance carrier. There'll be deductions or for that. If
Really?
yeah, sure. If you have it, you can say, hey, I got a water cop. They're going to give their most of the time, depends on the carrier, of course. You can get a deduction for having that. Just like your insurance company wants to know how far you are from the closest fire hydrant, or you have to
Hmm.
have wired carbon monoxide and smoke detectors. You have something like that, they're going to say, "Hey, these people are taking care of their house. They're due a deduction, just like a safe driver discount,
Okay.
right?"
Yeah, exactly.
So,
With that, okay, now shifting gears a little bit to insurance, and it's good to know. I need to look into that. I didn't know anything about it until researching for the article and talking to you.
mhm,
Um, Speaking of insurance,
mhm.
something happens, I call you all, you come out. Is it on me? Do you all assist with reaching out to insurance? How does that come into play?
Yeah, that's when we're talking about an insurance claim. That's one thing. Especially in Metro Atlanta, you can swing a dead cat and hit a restoration company. There's everywhere. There's
Okay.
some guys that were like, I used to be a builder, now I do, and now I do mitigation. I own a restoration company. Yes, I've been doing this for 15 years, and that's one of the things that happens when a person does have a claim.
Hmm.
It is the claims experience. What do we do to have to make this as easy on them as possible, whether it be a fire or a flood, or last year I don't know how many times we got claims with cars running into houses. But what I always tell people is like, take a deep breath. This has probably never happened to you before, but we deal with it every day. So,
Okay.
we have a team in place that knows how to, to get the information to the insurance carriers, what their insurance carriers are looking for, how to speak their language. So, because there's no reason for somebody that doesn't necessarily do it every day to try to navigate that, right?
Yes.
So that's what we're there for. To work as an advocate to make sure that this claims experience for the insured is as seamless and easy as possible. And that's
Okay.
one of the things when I'm speaking to agents that I do work with, or adjusters, that's what I'm trying to tell them too, is like, look, we're going to try to make this claims experience as good as possible for your insured, because we also want to help you as an agent retain your book of business, right? They work really hard to get those,
Fair.
to write those policies, right? And somebody leaves, you're bombarded every day. Are you in good hands? Liberty, 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 the emu, everything, and so, somebody can be saying, hey, maybe I could leave and go to Geico and save, $500 a year. But if they're working with a really good agent that is there, then they're going to, you know what? There's a price for that service. So
Yes.
I'm not going to, there are people always going to jump for price. But if they're having a good claims experience, if they're working with their agent and they know who that is, odds are they're going to want to stay with them just because of loyalty and the degree of service they're getting.
Completely agree.
Just like if you if you consistently go to a restaurant that has poor service and poor food, well, why are you going to continue to go there?
You're not.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll pay a little bit more to go to the place down the street where people are
Yes.
are nice and the food tastes good.
Yes. Okay. They're not paying us. This isn't a commercial for Level Creek, but to your point, with our experience in the 3 times we've had you all out, honestly, you all were step 1 and you all were the last step. And everything in between. And again, Travis was, I'm sure there are others, but Travis was each time for us, and really probably made it the least stressful it could have been. And now it wasn't stress-free, but
Right.
it was truly fantastic. What does your everyday look like?
Mine personally?
Now we could talk personal. We could absolutely.
Well,
how are you? We can talk about your life. I did mean professionally, but you can take it however you want.
What it looks like is, I am blessed that I have a very, very, very good team. I've been trying to, build this team, build this company based on, our core values over sometimes. And, our day looks like every morning, the whole team sits around a conference table and we quickly just go around the table. What's going on today? What do you got going on?
Yeah.
Where are you going? Do you need help? Okay. People jump in. So just what are we doing? Morning huddle. Let's knock it out. Does anybody need to have a sidebar with me? What are we doing? And so with that, then everybody is sitting around that table has an idea of what that person's doing. We also do, my team has one-on-one meetings, right? So it's so important that the people that are working in the office that are, getting the certificates of completion or the mortgage paperwork to the mortgage companies, et cetera, they know, hey, Steve, I need you to get this signed by Mrs. Smith today. Or, hey, the insurance company is wanting some final completion pictures. So just knowing what everybody's doing, and that way everybody's able to jump in. It's not like going, who's doing what today? So quick meeting, get that done. And then it's mostly triage. My project managers, I've got 5 project managers for reconstruction, and they're typically at any time have, 10 to 12 jobs that they're juggling, whether they're getting ready to go in production, or post-production, right? So
and how many do you have?
5.
So so you're talking 50 to 60 at any given moment?
At any given moment, yep. And any degree of things, we could be waiting for permits on one. We could be waiting for a estimate approval on another one. We could be waiting for lab reports for another one. So they're always, what going in and out. And that's why they're always communicating. So we can get these from, hey, my basement was flooded, to, hey, my basement looks great.
Yeah.
And get it done as quickly as possible. That's one of the things too that the insurance companies really like with us too is is the speed, the velocity at what we work. We don't cut corners, but we try to get things done in a process in a timely manner because there's something on your policy most people have called ALE, additional living expense. So every day that you're out of your house, that insurance company is paying for it, right? So, if I tell an insurance carrier, hey, this is going to take us about 4 months to get this done, and we get it done in 3 months, I just save that carrier a lot of money.
Sure.
Because they're not having to pay Mr. and Mrs. Smith to live in a house or an apartment, right? But not only that, and everybody's like, oh, the insurance company has all the money, and they do. But not only did we save the insurance company some money there, we also got Mr. and Mrs. Smith in their home a month before sooner. It's nice if you have somebody that's like, you know what, you might not be in your house at Christmas, but then they're having Thanksgiving dinner in their house. So working at velocity, and the only way you can do that is to be organized and have your processes.
Okay.
I can dig into that for hours, but a typical day is just, is just driving these claims, driving these projects forward to get them across the finish line.
Okay. That's interesting. I have some other ideas for episodes that I'm making note of.
No charge.
That will that will hopefully dive into. Well, first, that was a quick introduction to Andy and Level Creek. We're not done quite yet because I always end everything and have for years with 3 more questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite movie?
You know what? My favorite movie, I mean, clearly I have to say Star Wars because,
Okay.
Star Wars, but, but then I just, I this is going to sound really, really bad, but I love You Got Mail. And yeah.
It is a good movie.
I'm a happily married to a beautiful woman, and I love watching a rom-com.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? I'll always have to pop on and watch Star Wars if I have to.
Well, that'll be a whole other episode. We don't have time right now because don't answer because you can't just say Star Wars because there's.
Yeah.
Well, we'll do a whole other episode.
Get into charge on and all that stuff.
We're gonna do all that.
No.
Is there I don't know if the microphone caught that or not. Oh, you know what hasn't happened this episode? The train.
Yep.
It's happened in the other ones, but not this one. Now I'm disappointed. Maybe we'll just sit here and talk until the train comes by.
It will come by.
It might. So is there a book you're reading right now?
Is there a book I'm reading right now? I am rereading Traction right now. So there's a number of books that I like, but Traction, and then Lankione writes a number of books, and they're very, very well. They're good to me, but they're books on businesses, systems, processes.
Yes, absolutely.
How to manage a team, how to encourage your team. But I'm rereading Traction right now.
Is that the type of book Traction is?
Traction's the name of the book.
Okay,
but it's about running a business. What you do as a leader. Because there's a big difference between a business owner and a leader.
Yes.
How do you get a group of people to move into a direction that you see? And how do you motivate those?
Okay.
So, I'm always trying to, do things.
And I haven't heard of that. I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. What do you want to do when you grow up?
What do I want to do when I grow up? Wow. I would like to get from a 25 handicap down to at least a 20 on my golf game. But I don't know. I've always seen myself as an entrepreneur. I opened my first business when I was in my late 20s and always kind of like worked and built and grew things. And I'm 55 now. So, there's going to be a time where I'm not going to want to, continue to be as engaged as what I'm doing now. But I just could never see myself as being retired. I live in a community where there's a golf course, and now I'll be leaving on my way to go to work in the morning. You see all these guys in their golf course heading to every morning, heading to the course. And I'm like, I just couldn't do that. I just always feel like I would have to be, now don't get me wrong. I'd like to be able to do it once, maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
But I always feel that I need to be growing or doing something, or I would go mad. So what do I want to do when I grow up? If I had to, at some point, I'd probably start another business. It might be mowing yards, or it might be doing something, not as stressful as the restoration industry. But I think people have to keep moving and learning in order to keep
doing something.
Yeah, I have a very good friend. Her father always said that, hey, if I ever quit, I'll die, and if I ever retire, I'll die.
Yeah.
And he retired. and he died 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
You know, so and I think so many times people identify who they are by the work that they do.
And they lose their identity.
And they lose their identity.
Yeah.
You can work on that because even if you are retired, you have plenty of things to offer.
And a lot of time.
And a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Okay.
I don't want to be an astronaut.
Maybe we'll do an episode on digging into.
I don't want to be an astronaut because we're getting stuck in space for 8 months.
No. All right, completely off topic. If you don't know, the astronauts that were stuck in space, 200 and something days?
286 days.
286 days.
Crazy.
And this is completely off topic now. We'll be done in just a moment. But yeah, showing the difference in how they looked when they left and how they looked when they got back is truly unreal.
Yeah.
And sad, honestly. So my apologies for ending on a sad note. I did not intend on doing that. They are home. That is the good note. It's a happy note now.
Yeah.
But Andy, we appreciate it very much.
Well, I hope I was able to offer some insight
Absolutely.
into my experiences, and I would love to come back anytime.
Love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, friend.